We are almost to the book that started this whole thing a couple months ago, and I will be redoing that book in a couple of days. Who'd have thought that this would occur? But when I started the first book, or the last book, depending on how you look at it, I was like, I like these kind of books. I like this time period. But because I came into it on book 23, I didn't know any of the characters, and the character herself didn't introduce herself for a couple of chapters, and it was just like this. So now I went back and I started with book 1, which you're supposed to do in a continuing series like this. And now we are up to book 20. Now I know all my characters. Now I know who to pay attention to. It's gotten to the point where I don't even do my cast list anymore. I just read the book to enjoy the book. Welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina K-R-S-T-I-N-A. This is where I read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music, no fancy stuff going on here. And I don't know where my sheets are, but Trudy and Selena and Z and forget the other one. It's here somewheres. But the 4 ladies are doing fantastic in cheering me on every day. It's very nice of y'all. I don't know and I'm sorry for my faux pas. There's about 500 little pieces of paper over here. So anyway, I wanted to mention that I guess we should get the books here. That Fiona has been following history quite accurately. And also, Ursula's getting a little elderly here. How often can she do these things? I'm afraid the series is going to end. And I don't quote me on this. I haven't looked it up, and I need to go look it up, and I should have looked it up before I came to sit down here, but I didn't think about it till I sat down. But I'm pretty sure Queen Elizabeth dies 1603, something like that. And I know Cecil and Walsingham are getting ready to disappear too. But Fiona has stuck with the history of the series, and the fact that she said Ursula age as another reason why I think this series will end soon. And I'm hoping she goes for flat out 30, but I don't think there are 7 more books between now and the Queen dies, so I'm not sure. Maybe she'll cut it at 25. It'll be interesting to see how she ends it, because she has in the past skipped a few years. There was a couple of books ago where I was quite surprised that she skipped 6 years between books. In the books, the time period in the books, she had skipped 6 years. And so we have Ursuline is our heroine, and William Cecil and Walsingham are the Queen's master of horse. No, Dudley's master of horse. Treasure, confident. They handle the spies. They handle all the stuff. And then we have Dale and Broccoli, who are maidservants. We don't see too much of them in this book, very, very little of them. We see quite a bit of Christopher. He was a spy and a message runner, and then he married one of Ursula's wards, Kate. We get a lot of depressing information not even in the first 3 chapters in Ursula's personal life. People are dying left and right. And it starts off very negatively, the book, and you're like, she's already pulling your heartstrings, and it's not even chapter 3 yet. And once more, was it the last book or the book before? No, I think it was the last book. I spent the entire book worried about Mildred and her situation. No, there's a book before the last book. Well, we're spending the whole book worried about Mildred and her situation again. And so I do like the fact that Fiona has followed history. And I'm gonna get to that in a minute before my phone dies. So we're starting this book, and she follows it historically correctly. And be prepared for spoilers as it is. So I just wanted to read this little, because this is all about King Philip of Spain invading England. And he follows it right. This book takes place in 1588. And I looked it up. In 1588, King Philip II of Spain, a devout Catholic, sent a large fleet of ships known as the Spanish Armada to invade England. Philip's motivations were both religious and political. England had become Protestant, and Philip, a Catholic, aimed to restore Catholicism in England and also to support the Catholic cause in the Netherlands, where they were rebelling against Spanish control. And I lost my picture. Queen Elizabeth I of England, who was Protestant, prepared her navy to defend against the Spanish invasion. And, sorry. Oh, come back here. No, I've lost it. The English Navy, led by figures Charles Howard I, Earl of Nottingham, and Francis Drake, you hear a lot about Francis Drake in history, engaged the Spanish Armada in a series of naval battles in the Channel. And the biggest thing that helped the English was the storms. There was really bad storms. But they defeated the Spanish in the ocean, in the waters. They didn't have to set foot in England soil. And they were saved a lot by doing that. So, we start this book off with William Thompson and Son discovering that there's a dead body on the side of the road. And we do not learn till much later, much later. It's like an afterthought. We find this dead body, and that's the last of it for almost the entire book. And Ursula is attending she starts the book off, by attending a meeting with the Queen and Sir William Cecil and Sir Francis Walsingham and Robert Dudley, the Queen's main advisors. And they are discussing the possible invasion from Spain and all the different ways, talking about what ifs. And the Queen tells Ursula that because you are my sister, you may be taken as a hostage and used as leverage. So if this happens, you must be prepared to leave for Scotland immediately. So Ursula is not too happy about this. She also, let me back up here. While they're having this meeting, they get the word that that guy was killed on the side of the road, the one from the prologue. And they also fill Ursula in on all the different negotiations that are being done with the Netherlands and all this other kind of stuff that's going on. So, but Ursula goes back to, I have all these notes. I should stick with my notes just a little bit. They talk about once they receive word that the guy from the prologue is deceased, they explained to Ursula who he was, how important he was to their cause, what he was doing as a messenger, and apparently the killer was frightened off and he didn't get a chance to search the Juan's body. That was the guy that was killed. And the documents that Juan was carrying for the Queen actually do make it to the Queen. And I'm not sure why they arrest the poor kid, but they arrest him. But you don't find out. That's kind of a big spoiler. You don't find that out to the very, 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 very end of the book. So, I have all these notes. See how bad my computer is? So, they tell her all this stuff. They tell her about Juan. Then, like I said earlier, Ursula goes home, and Mildred was with child. And if you remember from the last book, she had wed a vicar, priest, whatever you want to call him. and he turned out to be quite evil, and she had been with him for long enough to sustain a child, and now she got the measles, a very small case of it, and she miscarries and the child dies. And no, all right, Mildred did not get the measles, but she did miscarry the child, and the child does die. Kate, Ursula's ward, who married Christopher, the spy, the agent, who lives a couple miles down the road, she got the measles, and she died, and her kid lived. And this is all before chapter 3. It's like very, very sad. So Ursula arrives home to all this sad news, and then she takes her household at Hawkswood and sits down and explains the situation about Spain. And if Spain invades, just go along with it, don't resist, all that kind of stuff. And she also tells them about the Queen's plan for her to escape to Scotland, and that Harry has to be prepared. Harry is her son. He has to be prepared to take over the running of the two estates. She also has an estate in Witham. It's actually spelled that way. With Y and then Sham. And she goes there and fills them in on what's going on too. And then while she's home, Christopher comes home with Gomez. He's a little Spanish. He's also an agent. And Mildred, who we know falls in love every 5 minutes, falls in love with Gomez, hatches a plan to elope, doesn't tell anybody, and sets off. So this happens while Ursula is away. She comes back. They tell her. And she's determined to go after Mildred and stop her. She's doing a wrong thing. But you need some traveling documents. So she has to wait for Cecil and Walsingham to give her the documents to talk to Elizabeth. And then to get going to go after Mildred because they went to Spain. So they go running off to Mildred, and Mildred does a couple of POV chapters herself. And we know Mildred doesn't stay married for long. They actually make it to Spain. They actually get there. They actually get married. They get married in secret. And because they get married in secret and there's no witnesses at all to the marriage will later prove invalid. And Ursula will finally get there after some time. And they pass on the roads. And Ursula gets to the King Philip's place and discovers that Gomez has been arrested for treason, that he's going to hang or be shot by firing squad, hanged. And he has set it up so that Mildred could escape. So Mildred has already left. So Ursula and her pals turn around and go back. And they end up running into Ursula. And some other things happen there. You get some twists and turns. There is a final twist at the end that is just you'll be like, oh good God. But it works. It fits. So that was book 20. We're headed for 21. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's just she follows history. And that was the one thing that I was impressed about, is that she follows history. She followed history real good in this book. So we'll see what happens. And poor Gomez and poor Mildred. She doesn't end up staying married all that long. Have a good one.